I just want to brief everyone about what is actually an AI. Many people don't understand actually what is AI, what is big data, what is machine learning, and it seems to be a buzzword everywhere now. So I'll just give you a quick overview what is big data, exponential growth, and AI in general. Just in a few minutes you'll understand it quickly while other people are getting ready to join the stage. So if we take I know it's a bit of noise here, so if we take, normal progression, like linear progression and exponential growth. Normal progression is something when I do numbers like 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, and so on. But exponential growth is something which is behind every kind of big data and AI. Exponential growth is something very hard to understand by our brain. One thing is like exponential growth works like this. If I make one step here, the next step is supposed to be 2 steps. It's like this. The next one will be 4 steps, like that. So by the end, when I do 30 actions like this, I will be 25 times around the globe. Can you imagine that? 25 times. Yeah? And what is important? Important is the point that our growth of information in our world, in digital world, follows exponential growth. It means we are increasing the data which is produced by our world significantly. And this becomes a big data. And the industry in betting and any kind of industry follows the same pattern now. And then when we have a big data, human cannot analyze this big data anymore. So we need a machine to do the analysis. So we have a machine learning. And machine can do the analysis which is not achievable by human. And then based on machine learning, you have artificial intelligence when the system can give you the outcome which is not foreseen by human. Just to give you an example, what is very simple one. It was a test done in medical field where they did the CAT scans of cancer cells. And before the experiment, people knew only 9 types of cancer. And they asked the machine to analyze it and show every time there is a cancer, cancer cell defined, it's supposed to highlight this and inform. So not only the machine correctly guessed all the cases with the cancer, after analysis of data for a few years, it also found 3 new types of cancers, which human didn't see before. And after the research, they confirmed, yes, it does. Actually the cancer cells, these are. So that's the power of AI in our case, and that's what's going on in our industry. So Staff is here. I will, this was a small introduction. Please, Staff, introduce yourselves, and I will do as well.
Okay. Is it working? Yes. Hi, everyone. So I'm Stav Zilberstein, CEO of Hyperion Tech. We're based in Malta as well. As we heard in the last panel, nobody is leaving Malta yet, so come to visit us. But we're doing software development, especially for the scalability issue in Malta, which is put very well by Gustav, where he was asked and he said, yes, there's a great environment for customer support and other type of administrative services in Malta, but there is a big problem with software development. So that's exactly what we're doing. Through bridging these companies into development centers in Ukraine, we're able to scale them up and give them some much needed resources. So just brings us to this conversation about not only about artificial intelligence, but also about technology in general. Because I think that many organizations want to use AI, and there is somewhat of a buzzword around it, very similar to blockchain, right? Because the moment blockchain makes a stock price go up, everybody wants to add the word blockchain into their company as fast as possible, especially if it's a public one. So same thing is starting to happen also with AI, but I want to twist it a little bit. I mean, we will touch on abilities of AI in general, how to analyze big data patterns that humans cannot. But also to raise another question, do you really need AI right now, or is there a lot more you could do technology-wise before introducing AI into your business? But before I will be like a devil advocate on that topic of AI, I just want, Alex, maybe you can explain to us a little bit more how, for example, big data can use in sports, because
Yeah. Why I'm talking about this is because my company, Betagy, we do big data analytics in sports, betting and media. and we work with this already for 6 years. And what we learned is that people don't know about this. Everyone using it, but people don't really understand it. And in sports, since we are talking about sports betting as a part of this conversation, sport is inseparable part of the sports betting itself. And based on sport, I mean, development in the sports actually influences the development in sports betting. And now, finally, sports was always, going ahead with big data, like collecting of data. But finally, now in our feeds, which we buy from different data providers, we can collect 600 data points for every single game, multiply by number of minutes, which you can collect the data. 600 multiplied by 90 minutes in football game, it creates such a massive array of data. And then multiply by number of leagues and players and so on and so forth. So now we have the amount of data which is available for analytics is so big that humans cannot cope with this in any kind of way. Therefore, we need to hire machines actually to do valuable insights out of it. And the companies which do, like sport clubs, which do analyze it, will always have an edge over the football clubs or any kind of sports organizations which do not do this. And that's why the recent developments, when FIFA recently allowed you to wear trackers on official games of football leagues, it created so many data points that now every club is looking into how to analyze this data and so on. So the big development in sports really influences the sports betting. And in sports betting, industry, there are so many ways how big data is actually influencing them. And we can start with simple things like, odds setting. Everyone wants to have every operator wants to create the best and most efficient way to predict the market behavior and see what will be the most efficient odds, but they don't need to look only in the sport. Now, to set the correct odds, you actually need to look outside this. You need also to look into social media and see the trends. You need to see how many times the clubs or teams are mentioned in social media to predict the market demand for certain odds. And that becomes super complex for traders to do. So the more often they're replaced by the machines in such case. No?
So the insights actually can help to scout rising stars, detect match fixing.
Match fixing actually is another big topic here. Today in the morning, people were talking about that. And the problem which I saw sitting there is everyone talks about regulations and education, but no one is talking about technology. And technology is, in our algorithms, because we have different products, and one of the products is prediction service for football. In our algorithms, we already have internally the logic built in order to detect such games. And with more data, when you know every pass on the pitch, by every player, as soon as we see behavior which is totally different from what this team used to play, we have an alert in our system. So for me, it's a little bit confusing why everyone is talking about education and information and regulation. But the answer here, this will not solve the problem. It will just help to solve the problem, and definitely it's needed. The answer here is actually to go into data transparency. The more data we have, it becomes transparent. The more transparent it becomes, there is no opportunity for arbitrage. There is no opportunity for match fixing. So the only solution which I see to this problem is going into data analytics. And it's already here. It's now. It's live. We have it. So I think the organizations which care about this, they're supposed to look in this direction. Yeah?
And we already see from working with companies in iGaming and the fintech niche, but let's focus for a moment on iGaming and sports betting. Basically what happens is that there is some kind of a bottleneck that is overflowing into these iGaming companies. It could be because there was more convenience for more years until regulations become tighter and tighter. And what happened is that actually companies that do invest in technology and evolve and keep on inventing new stuff, they are actually the ones that will stay relevant in the end. We see also an interesting layer of technology companies that are rising in the middle between the users and the service providers, such as brokers, for example. Don't know if you heard about this, but a phenomena that is happening in sports betting is that affiliates get a license, create an app where they can allow you to keep your funds as a wallet and place bets in other bookies. But how could this become? This is only because, again, lack of development and flow between affiliates, users, and operators. Lack of technology. Again, the missing brick here is technology. Not enough investment in technology. So again, this brings me to the buzzword of AI might create, in my opinion, more noise right now in the iGaming industry. It does great things, for example, for compliance and responsible gaming by identifying behaviors of users that might start to behave unhealthy with their habits and stop them in time. This is great. But for many other things, there is still so much technology missing. And the threat will grow from the outside. Affiliates and other tech people that are slowly getting into it, developing platforms that give the users the experience they want, and turn these service providers more kind of a utility provider, just a bed sleep provider, or a place where I can just pay and get out, and get my experience, my statistics, my real interesting data in another service provider. This is exactly the gap that should be covered. So again, adding to the disturbance of the terminology AI that might be too often used right now, instead of asking where can we strengthen our technology. For example, what can you say about marketing? I mean, in marketing, I think it's one of the stagnated areas where technology seems to lack, right? This is something Betagy is doing.
True. One of the things which we see, I mean, let alone the market in itself, but even, simple things which other industries are doing, betting companies don't do. And it actually hurts me very much when I see the real goal of every betting company to increase the turnover of every player, but they don't do simple things like offering a second bet after the first one. And okay, you bet on that, so the second best bet for you will be this one, or this game, or the people who are betting on this, betting on that. Whatever, if you go to Amazon.com, they really nailed this. This kind of retail approach to making people buy more than they want. And somehow online platforms, okay, the reason is because many of them are using white label solutions, which are not, it's very hard to implement that. But on the other hand, there are many bookmakers who build themselves, and they don't even think about this. And second point here, which I try to make, is like very important also behavioral prediction and analytics. Because in our case, now the patterns of data about every player, the system can easily select, help to retain those customers in a way that, look, if you have a past data about every player, you can build a player profiles, and you can see the players which are about to churn or which are stop doing certain actions before they actually churn. So it's easier to highlight those players and create custom marketing incentives actually to revitalize a relationship with this player. And this also is not done. And I see only few companies which are doing this, but the keystone here, they don't want to give this technology actually to the operator. They do this technology and they create a broker, as Stav says, because they can engage players better and they will use betting operator only as a utility in the end. Because, I mean, no one is caring where he plays the money. He cares about the brand and fun and so on. And we need to look on the US market, how important it is, esports and other games where people are really into data analytics, and they use only 20% of time actually to place a, to place a bet in a fantasy, and 80% research in the thing. So it's really painful. And then moving on to the marketing, there is an important point if we talk about machines that at a certain level of analytics, humans cannot understand what machines are doing. You look in Google. If you ask Google people, do you know how your algorithm works? They say no, we don't know. It's already
actually DeepMind got already out of control. Like there are 1,000 AI specialists, and they say, look, we don't know what it's doing anymore because they're using a sequence that is called genetic algorithms, which means it works a bit like evolution. It sounds spooky, but it's an algorithm that tests out pieces of code, keeps the one that works, and kind of eliminates the one that don't. So the algorithm is evolving on its own in its ability to recognize or to make itself better. And this is something where actually after a while, the scientists can still open the code, like open the hood and look and say, all right, there's a piece of code here, but they don't know anymore how it works.
Yeah, and coming to this, there's a very important thing actually to merge now the current human with their data data analytics, yeah? And for that, the only way to do it is machine learning, is machine-generated data. So for example, to understand this piece of code, we as a human, we understand very easily graphs, charts, pie charts, all kind of visual representation of the data, same as your players and any kind of human. On the other hand, we don't understand the code and so on, and machine talks ones and zeros, which we don't understand. So what becomes very important is generation of marketing materials based on data automatically, because this is the only way how you can engage now audience, especially with the recent regulations. Look here, you cannot promote bonuses, you cannot promote anything, free spins, all kind of marginal offering is banned now. So the only thing what you can do is actually to produce marketing materials based on events and sports and content. And to do this, since it's so much data intense industry, and it's every data piece has an expiration date, the only way to do is to use machine actually to generate this kind of marketing materials and automatic banners and animations and all kind of such things, which many top players are doing already. You don't have to look far, look in the sport industry, in the media industry, look in the top betting companies, what they do, they generate content automatically because it's impossible to transfer the data itself from into format which is understandable by a human with human resources. It's all taken by the machine.
Yeah. So we have to see a transformation in the industry. I think one of the common things we will always hear, like in a gaming conference, iGaming conferences, brand, 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 brand. It's great. I mean, you need to do brand. We got it. And I think we saw a really nice example here with the heavy metal casino. I'm not a partner there, so I'm not making an advertisement here. Just to show how someone has to bootstrap with no budget, so they really have to find really good edge in marketing. So they go into creating very, very well-defined content, very, very well-defined audience. But still, beyond branding, in the end of the day, if you're just going to have, again, all the game providers with a yellow background and under heavy metal with heavy metal prices, it's also not going to cut through. Technology is still a missing pain point that has to mature, or the young generation that develops these middle technology is going to take it from the hands of the fat operators that will then have to operate under panic or start buying them out. But anyway, technology, again, is something that is not mentioned enough. What is technology? Not just the word itself, just to develop actively what the users want. The reason, like, for example, payment provider Revolut is getting out of control in Europe until people just want to say, it's the Russians, shut them down, which is kind of embarrassing for traditional banks. They just failed to give proper technology to do what we wanted to do, which is just transfer money fast without fees. Easy, right? So Revolut just came up with that and solve the problem, so everybody's using it. Why am I using it? Because it's blue or white? Because it's beautiful? No, because it just does what I wanted it to do. So I think all gaming providers as well and operators need to ask themselves, what exactly do the users want? This is why also Trustly and these pay and play options are working so well, because I just want to deposit quickly, pay, and get my money if I want to. And I don't want to go through a straining bureaucratic process to get that. So you just have to keep asking yourself the same questions here. What do the users want? How do we make it faster and better for them? And the companies that are going to go into that, down that line, this is the ones that will stay in the long term and make a difference.
Yeah, and just, to keep, if you have to keep from this what we are talking about, one thought is that big data and AI will transform everything. And this is not happening in 20 years, it's happening in the next 5. And it's not a joke, it's like happening now, and we can wake up tomorrow and the whole industry will look different. It works in a way like this. As soon as one company nails in all aspects of its operations, in marketing, in odds setting, in retention, in physical operations, they will implement the big data analytics. It will be very hard to catch up. So everyone else will try to join, but the window limit, the window to jump on this trend is very short, because they will take over the market very, very quickly, because not human scale anymore, it's exponential growth, as I told you. So those people who will be the first, they will actually take over the whole market. And many players will die who never looked in this. Many people will lose their jobs. And what is more interesting, the industry will be transformed. And how to say, it's kind of industrial revolution going on, which was very bad for horse, if you think about the horse.
Very good for car makers.
Yeah, but very good for car makers and things and so on. But so the idea here is not to be this horse, you know, who will die because of the industrial revolution. And you cannot stop it. You cannot actually, you know, somehow influence this. This will happen as soon as few players will pick this up and get it done. The whole industry will change, like a taxi industry changing now. You know, it's already changed by Uber and Lyft and all kind of such companies, where technology solves the problem. And the same will happen in all other industries, and betting is way behind, but it will happen in the next 5 years. So my point here is that you need to look into big data and AI all the time. Now, yesterday, you should have started it, and get the team behind and work on technology rather than anything else. You know?
And I will also summarize, and this will wrap up, that you can choose, right? If you're already rich enough and you don't mind to crumble when you're out of date, then crumble and leave the stage for the next technologies to rise. Or pick up the wand, pick up the glove, and stand up to the challenge, keep developing new technologies. These are the only two ways. So I think it also will be a wake-up year for this industry, like we will see in the next 3 years, more or less, not only in regulation, but also who will really innovate and who will just get spit out of the vortex, kind of, so to speak. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
It was great talking to whoever stayed. Maybe you are the ones that will survive the revolution because you stayed, and the people that went to eat sandwiches didn't hear about this, so they'll hear from you.
And in case of any
Thank you.
questions, let us know. Good. Thank you.